Hey guys, Mars Thinking here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so I've decided in the end that I am actually going to do the Extreme Super Battle Road guides as separate videos, because I recorded the first couple, and like even halfway through the video is going to be over an hour long. So obviously, you know, even with timestamps being able to help you find the stage that you need to look at the guide for, that's obviously going to be super annoying. Very, very long video. So I feel like it probably is best to break it down into stages. So I'm going to record this generic intro that I'm then going to put in front of each one of the guides, because I already recorded a lot of them, you know, expecting that I was going to put them together as one video, so they don't have their own proper intro. So most of them just start with me going, so next up this stage. So there's no proper actual video intro. So I'm going to record this as well as an outro that I can whack on the end. And we're going to put these in front of all of the guides. So between now and the time that the stages drop, which should be Tuesday evening in the US, Wednesday morning in the UK, all of these videos should be out in time for the stages to be released, so you guys can get some advice on teams for beating those stages. So I think I mentioned it in each one of the guides I recorded already anyway, but make sure you let me know for this particular video, for this stage, what your team build is going to be down below in the comments section. And if there's any units that you think I missed out that I should have talked about, let me know that down below and we can continue the discussion down there as well. So if you do find the guide helpful, do smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so moving on to the full power category. This one is definitely going to be interesting for a lot of people. The actual full power category leaders are not units that have aged particularly well or will be super good in something like Extreme Super Battle Road. So this is another one where, depending on your box, there's quite a few other teams that you can make that still fall under the full power category. So obviously we're going to go through those here. If we just go over the leaders very quickly that we have, Broly is probably the better one because he has the AoE super attack. He's not like crazy powerful anymore, so whilst he is hitting all the enemies, he's not exactly going to be doing like half of their health or anything. But he can chip away at them. His defense is not great, so if you do have to use him as a leader, he's probably just going to be like a third slot float, I would imagine. Because yeah, unfortunately his defense is just not really good enough anymore, especially for something like Extreme Super Battle Road. So, and then of course the full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. When he gets an easy A, I imagine he'll be great. I'm really hoping they go all in with him, because you know he's full power Super Saiyan 4. He's got to be at least close to the level of the STR one, because power creep and all that, the easy A, hopefully he's going to be stronger than him. But at the moment he's not very good, so he basically doesn't have if you're on full HP, has 70% defense, and as your health goes down, that defense goes down. So his defense is not good. He does have a chance to counter supers, but this is like the last resort leader, really, if you have no one else. Or I guess there's the STR Full Power Freezer. He hasn't aged super well. I've never been a huge fan of like the sacrificing HP, especially for something like Super Battle Road. And his leader skill is only 130 across the board. I've said in a few of the other videos already, I don't like to run 130 leads in the more difficult content. But if he's your last resort, obviously it covers all of full power, so you don't have to worry about matching up specific categories. But this is where it's going to get a bit easier depending on your box and the units that you have available to you. There's a lot of ways you can combine teams under the full power umbrella. So first off, we have the Super Saiyan Goku, the Namek LR. Obviously we've talked about him in some of the other guides as well, just because he's such a great unit. Under his leader skill, Legendary Existence, and Super Saiyans, there's a ton of full power units, including a lot of the ones that we're going to talk about in a minute anyway. A lot of these guys that you can use as the leaders to make teams that will be a full power team, just under a different category heading. A lot of them fit on each other's teams as well. So if you have the majority of the units that we're going to talk about here, you don't really need to run an actual full power leader. So obviously Namek Goku's really good. You can let him get hit in slot 1 to get a guaranteed additional super, or you can put him in slot 2 and take the chance on the RNG from his passive to get an additional, because obviously in slot 1, especially on turn 1, you really don't want him to get hit with like a super attack before he's attacked, because it's nice to get that guaranteed additional from him being hit first. But you know, you want to get his defense up a little bit before he starts taking hits in ESBR. Obviously, you can pop like a damage reduction item, put him in slot 1, and he's going to be able to throw out quite a lot of damage. So, obviously, he's very, very good. Next up, we have the Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta. Powerful comeback and reps of Universe 7. You can make a very solid full power team. Obviously, he builds up damage reduction in the same turn as he takes hits. So, he's good defensively. He's not crazy good. You definitely don't want him taking like multiple supers in slot 1 or anything like that. But he can be a solid defensive unit, pretty powerful. And then obviously once you get to turn 4, as long as you have 50% or more HP, he does have an AoE active skill. So that can be useful if you get to turn 4 and you still have multiple enemies left. It's a good way to clear out the rest, some of the field without having to risk taking supers in slot 1 and things like that. So he can be very good for it. Obviously, we also have the Goku and Frieza. You can actually make a full Reps of Universe 7 team under full power. So if you wanted to do that, obviously you can go ahead and use them, as they do have the highest leader skill. They're not the best defensively, but obviously post EZA their defense can still be very good. By that I mean they're not going to be like tanking supers or anything, but obviously they're going to be solid defensively. So you can use them as a lead and run a full Reps of Universe 7 team. Then we have the LR Broly. So you're not going to be using him as a leader, but obviously every guide we basically have to talk about him. He's a Super Battle Road machine. Obviously he is on categories like Legendary Existence, so he fits under the Namek Goku leader skill and can be run on that kind of version of a full power team. They link reasonably well together as well, so it's a good rotation for that event. If you are going to go ahead and put Goku in slot 1, use an item, put this guy in slot 2, tons of damage in that turn. So next up we have LR Full Power Frieza. Sworn Enemies and Planet Namek Saga. Again, you can make a full power team, because obviously remember, Int Namek Goku is obviously on Planet Namek Saga, and then there's a ton of Friezas that are on Sworn Enemies that are on full power that will be useful. And so yeah, his is the same deal as Goku. You can risk putting him in slot 1, get the guaranteed additional, or just put him in slot 2. I mean, he puts out crazy numbers, especially early on. Like, he dips off a little bit after a certain number of turns, but in Super Battle Road, you're probably not going to get that far anyway in terms of turn count. So he's still going to be very, very powerful. And the fact that, yeah, you can, under his lead, you can run him and the Namek Goku on the same team. So next up, we have the Golden Frieza. I put the tech one here, but obviously you can use the AGL one or both. As long as you meet the HP restriction at the start of the turn, they're really, really good tanks. Obviously, even though that guaranteed additional from the LR Frieza is nice, very good rotation is to have like a Golden Frieza in slot 1 and then the LR Full Power Frieza in slot 2, so they can tank the hits and potential slot 1 supers, and then he goes off in slot 2 and does a ton of damage. So either of the Golden Friezas or both are solid options. You just got to be careful about being in that HP restriction. So then we have the Tech Transforming Frieza. He's just a strong unit, decent defense, heals you a little bit at the start of the turn. Again, he's not at that level where he's going to be tanking like multiple attacks in slot 1 or something like that, but he's just a very powerful unit to have on the team, help dish out a whole bunch of damage and get some inbuilt healing, and obviously has a very good link set, especially if you are bringing other Frieza units. Next up we have LR Cell. Obviously he has his ability to transform at 30% or less HP and give you a full heal, which can be really, really good for Super Battle Road. Obviously anything that can give you a free heal without having to use an item can be beneficial. I always forget until I use this guy again how solid he actually is. Like, post super attack, his defense is very good. So he's not, you know, a complete liability on the team. He can do some work, and then when you get the transformation, obviously turns into the perfect cell and can be very, very powerful. So because there's no turn restriction, you can end like the first or second fight below that HP, go into the next fight, immediately heal on turn 1, and then you have perfect cell on turn 1. And then of course his active skill takes a couple of turns from his transformation, but if you're in a position like that where he's transforming on turn 1, you might potentially get to use his active skill to finish off the final enemy, because you can only use it when there's one enemy anyway. But obviously those kind of active skills can be really useful for Super Battle Road, because you don't want to load into that turn where you have one enemy left and then they're attacking you 3 times in slot 1 and one of them's a super. So then you can just use these active skills to finish them off. So those are always really useful. And of course the heal is massive. So next up we have the Int LR Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Obviously post EZA he can be really, really good defensively. So he's a good slot 2 or potential floating unit. He's not on some of the other categories that we've talked about. He's not on like Namek Gokus or Vegetas, unfortunately. But If you're running a general full power team, then obviously he is a solid choice. Next up, we have the Krillin. I thought I'd include him as well. Obviously, after having the Earthlings category stage come to global recently, it kind of showed that like Krillin's defense is not the best, but he could be useful simply for the fact that he's an AoE unit that can stun. So if RNG is on your side, you can you know, potentially he never gets hit by an attack, so his defense isn't going to be an issue. But you are going to be relying a lot on RNG. But he's a free-to-play unit, so he's available to everyone. Obviously, Prime Battle LRs are a bit of a grind, but he is a unit that could definitely be useful if you're lacking other options. Obviously, he's not on any of those big crazy categories, though. So he's going to be more of a last resort sort of honourable mention. Next up, we have the AGL transforming Goku. So just like the Frieza, very, very good after his EZA. He's got damage reduction, raises defense on super attack. He's on some of these other categories like Legendary Existence. So, you know, he fits well onto the other types of teams you can make with some of these big category LRs. So he's really, really good. Next up, we have the Int Broly. Because of the same name update, you can obviously run him and the STR-LR one at the same time. He's very good after super attacking, good defense, good damage reduction. So he is a strong option to bring on the team. And of course, he is on Legendary Existence as well. Next up, we have the Android 21, who recently got an EZA. So post-EZA, she's obviously a lot better. She's good defensively, decent damage-wise, heals you on super attack. She lowers the enemy's attack, which obviously is useful for Super Battle Road. And then when she transforms, she gives you a nice heal straight away, because she now heals at the start of the turn, and then she lowers attack on super. So obviously she's double supering, she infinitely stacks attack, so she's getting more powerful, and then yeah, you can massively debuff the enemy, so she definitely can be useful as well. We have STR Omega Shenron. So post EZA, he is a full power support unit, 2 key and 40% attack. But the big thing is this here, the all enemies attack minus 40%. That is a pretty significant nerf to the enemy's attack power. If you have this guy on rotation and you pop like a Whis or an Icarus, most of your units are just going to be tanking for double digits because of that sheer amount of damage reduction to the enemy. So really, really useful as a support. Unfortunately, as he's a very early unit, early EZA, his defense is not the best. So even with, say, just his debuff, if you don't have an item active, he's not going to be tanking hits super well, especially when it comes to super attacks. So that is something to bear in mind. But with the attack lowering and the support, he definitely can be worth throwing onto a team. Unfortunately, he's not on any of those other major categories, so it's more for if you're just running a general full power team. Then we have Bojack, both the STR and the LR. Obviously, they're a good combo to run together on full power. There's a little bit of crossover with Space Traveling Warriors, who the STR Bojack supports, but the Bojacks are all on Legendary Existence as well. So there is quite a bit of crossover. That team is actually going to be pretty good, the Namek Goku leads team. So yet another stage where if you have a decent box when it comes to his team, you can make a full power team out of him. And that's obviously going to be very, very powerful. So yeah, that is the full power. There's a couple of units that we didn't really go over. Like Tech Broly is obviously still decent for Super Battle Road with the guaranteed additional super, but his defense is quite bad. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is pretty decent as well with the additionals, raising defense with each super. You just can't really use him as a slot 1 unit. AGL Gohan is similar. Once he's got a couple of supers off, his defense is decent, and he fits onto some of these teams as well. So yeah, there's a lot of crossover here. Obviously these guys really, really good post super attack. They're on the Reps of Universe 7 team, as well as some of the other sub leaders. Roshi as well, because of his revival skill. Of course, if you're running 2 Gokus or even a team with the Krillin, because he's on full power, you can have the access to his revival skill. So yeah, there's a lot of solid units on this team, but there's a lot of crossover, because the weirdest thing about this one is the fact that the actual proper full power leaders are all units that you don't really want to run in Extreme Super Battle Road. So you've kind of got to build them out of the other categories that exist. So let me know what you guys are planning to do down below. Okay, there you go. So that is going to conclude this guide. Make sure, like I said at the start, you let me know down below if there's a unit that I didn't talk about or you think I should have talked in more detail about, and we can discuss that further in the comments, and let me know what your team is going to look like. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.